1,000 years. In the future, nanobots or tiny robots will be subtly integrated into our bodies, enhancing our own abilities. We will no longer be limited by the bodies we're born in, and will truly become a mixture of biology and machine on the inside. Artificial selection may occur where humans will be able to modify their baby's genes before birth to eliminate any diseases they may carry.
In the world right now, a court in India ruled that movie theater chains must compensate customers for mental agony caused by too many advertisements. A couple casually bragged about illegal hunting mid-flight while wildlife officers were sitting right behind them. A Chinese company told employees to get married or get fired, then backtracked after backlash. There is now a trend in India where call center agents are having their accents digitally altered using AI. A truck driver was stopped for a random inspection and found with $1.1 million in cash and 183 pounds of weed. A woman is divorcing her husband because he booed Taylor Swift during the Super Bowl. A Georgia woman gave birth to the wrong baby after a fertility clinic implanted another couple's embryo. A Diddy-themed parade float appeared at Mardi Gras, and no one knows who made it. A woman who was missing for 3 years was found inside of a fertilizer tank. The world's tallest and fastest roller coaster that was in New Jersey has been dismantled after 20 years. A woman locked her boyfriend in a storage unit for 4 days with no food or water until he found his phone. A teenager injected butterfly remains and died from suspected toxins. 4 sober drivers were arrested for DUI by ex-police in Tennessee. A new study shows that Labradors and humans share the same genetic drive to overeat. The Molly Malone statue in Ireland is going to be raised higher in order to stop the constant groping. Serial killer Hannibal the Cannibal, what a name, is on a hunger strike after his PlayStation was banned in prison.
Here's some of the greatest conspiracy theories of all time. Part 5. Many families have come to know and love the movie WALL-E, the adorable robot that goes on an adventure through space. Many times throughout the film, it is made clear that WALL-E stores spare parts to fix himself. It's assumed that he takes them from the deactivated WALL-Es since they no longer need them. But how exactly did they deactivate if they are made to roam the planet forever? This theory states that the other robots kept stealing WALL-E's collection of items because they were still in their default programming, much like when WALL-E was reset and did the same. WALL-E eventually got sick of it and broke all of the other robots in various ways, such as crushing them with trash cubes and taking their parts for salvage.
Him destroying WALL-E for us, man. That was a classic, bro. You find out WALL-E went mad and took out all the other WALL-Es? It's a pretty dark conspiracy, man. Any truth to that? He's asking some important questions.
Facts that I wish I didn't know. When you die, the last thing to go is your hearing. So as all your other mortal sensations are leaving this world, the last thing you're ever going to experience are the sounds going on around you, which very well could be like your family members crying or cheering. By the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. When pigs get a cold, like a cough, very often they will shoot their intestines out of their anus, and farmers have to, like, stuff it back in.
That's very weird.
How rare is your body? First, only 11% of people have naturally curly hair. So if you fall into any of these groups, consider yourself rare. Now, comment on which ones you have. Second, less than 3% of people have an X on their palms, which is considered a sign of strong character. Third, only about 33% of people can actually whistle, and unfortunately, I'm not one of them. Fourth, 14% of people don't have a palmaris longus muscle. This is the muscle that stands out when you flex your hand like this. Fifth, only 16% of people can produce a high-pitched noise with their jaw. They can control a muscle that most people can't, and it creates a loud sound. Sixth, 33% of people have astigmatism. This makes lights appear blurry and distorted, like in this photo. Seventh, less than 6% of people can vibrate their eyes and shake them rapidly back and forth. And do you have any of these characteristics? Or do you know someone who has any? And which of these characteristics do you think is the rarest?
It has to be the eye vibrating one because I've never heard that before until today, man. Who the world?
Disturbing brain facts you didn't know about. The brain will protect itself even if it means misery to you or death. Inhaling smoke in the middle of a burning house. Brain will make you stop breathing and pass out. Stuck in the middle of a cold place. You will fall asleep to conserve energy and never wake up again. Have your leg torn off by a bear. Here's adrenaline. So you can save your brain even if there's a huge risk of infection or further injury. You and your brain work together most of the time, but when push comes to shove, you are sacrificed.
The brain is out for itself.
This man followed a teen and her grandmother who were on a trail, and then he took their lives. In 2021, 17-year-old Hera and her grandmother, 78-year-old Sanetta, were found deceased in their home in Largo, Florida. Earlier that day, Hera and her grandmother went on a walk on the Pinellas Trail not too far from their house. On their way home, 19-year-old Sage Curry followed them to their house. He waited for the sun to go down before entering their home through the bedroom window. Sage then went into the kitchen and looked for the sharpest knife he could find and used that to attack the grandmother as she slept. Hera ran into the room after hearing her grandmother scream, and she was also stabbed to death. What's insane is that there was no relationship between the victims and Sage. He literally did this for absolutely no reason. His family said that his mental health declined after his 18th birthday and he became delusional, so much that he couldn't tell fiction from reality and believe that TV shows he watched were real. While he sat in jail, he got this moon tattooed on his forehead, which referenced a TV show character who had DID. Sage also got one of the victims' names tattooed on his ankle. In court, he really tried to use the insanity defense, but that was rejected. Sage was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Now this is crazy. In the
Insane.
Philippines today, they have just raised the minimum age of sexual consent from 12 years old to 16 to protect children against abuse and exploitation. Now I had no idea that the age of consent even went that low, so I googled which countries have the highest and lowest age of consent around the world. Now the highest age of consent in the world is 21 in Bahrain, which if you didn't know is a Middle Eastern country next to Qatar. The second highest age of consent is 20 years old in South Korea, while the majority of other countries seem to have an age of consent between 16 and 18. Now the youngest age of consent is 11 years old in Nigeria. The second lowest age of consent is 12 in Angola, obviously previously the Philippines, and then 13 years old in Burkina Faso, Comoros, Niger, and Japan.
There need to be flight logs on people who try to go there.
Don't really know what to do with their trunk or what it's for. So if you see a baby elephant swinging around like this, it's because it's not used to its trunk and it feels awkward. It takes years for them to figure out all the things they can do with their trunk, but until then, they helicopter their trunks around as they try to get used to their own body. Also, baby elephants will suck on their trunks almost the exact same way human babies suck their thumbs, because it reminds them of their mother and it provides them comfort when they're stressed. Because elephants are so smart and live for so long, they have one of the highest learning curves of any animal. Which means just like humans, baby elephants are helpless and rely on their mothers for basically everything. And they'll follow her around everywhere. Because of this, elephants spend more time with their mothers than basically any other non-human animal. And even though they can take care of themselves at the age of 5, some of these kids will stick around the mother for up to 16 years. Most baby elephants are naturally afraid of water and will go out of their way to avoid it. They only learn how to swim if the mother encourages it. For the baby, the love for its mother outweighs its fear of water, which makes it get in. But once the baby elephant goes swimming once, he's pretty much hooked for the rest of his life.
Let's see if you have
Interesting.
Nyctophobia. There's 5 levels in this phobia test, going from easiest to most difficult. So if you're too scared to make it all the way to the end, then you probably have Nyctophobia. Let's begin. How would walking into this dark room make you feel? What about going downstairs in the middle of the night and seeing this? Now for level 3, imagine looking through a door and seeing this staring back at you. Then imagine waking up in the middle of the night, looking outside your window and seeing this. We're getting to level 5, the most scary level. I'll also be showing you a video, so get ready.
I'm cool.
Let me know if you made it all the way to level 5. And which phobia I should do a test for next. Follow for more.
I made it. I've never really been too scared of the dark. That ain't something that ever affected me.
Behind your zodiac sign? Here's one of the weirdest zodiac sign stories out there. This is the origin story of Capricorn. The story begins when Mother Earth had some serious beef with the gods, enough that she sent a fire-breathing monster named Typhon to fight them. And this is where the forest god Pan comes in. He had legs and horns of a goat. He told Zeus and the other gods to disguise themselves as animals in order to avoid Typhon. And while the other gods were disguised, Typhon approached Pan and was about to attack. So Pan panicked and jumped into the river Nile. Because of this, the lower half of his body, which was underwater, transformed into a fish, while the upper half stayed a goat. So that's why we have this sea goat creature to represent Capricorn, but that's not all. Zeus ended up battling Typhon and had the muscles in his hands pulled out. Pan healed him, which allowed Zeus to defeat Typhon in the end. Because of this, Zeus immortalized the image of Pan in the sky as the constellation of Capricorn. But which zodiac sign should I talk about next? Follow to see the rest of the series.
Interesting. I didn't know.
Here's what humans
Backstory.
will be like in 1,000 years. In the future, nanobots or tiny robots will be subtly integrated into our bodies, enhancing our own abilities. We will no longer be limited by the bodies we're born in, and will truly become a mixture of biology and machine on the inside. With the increase in globalization, the 7,000 languages spoken around the world today will probably dip to below 100. Artificial selection may occur where humans will be able to modify their baby's genes before birth to eliminate any diseases they may carry. As well as moving out into space, we may also be able to conquer death by scanning our brains into computers. Now comment what superpower you would want.
May have upset.
I think that's crossing the line, man. When you mess with genes and you putting artificial stuff in your body, bro. We already fighting AI now, man. We don't need to be putting that anywhere near us.
The bush bear community. So here's 10 positive facts about koalas. They're one of the best mothers in Australia because they'll carry their little Joey around everywhere for up to a year. And unlike kangaroos and foxes, mother koalas don't abandon their baby to escape predators. Instead, they fight to the death to protect their Joey. Also, they're not baby-faced pushovers. They're vicious marsupials that can and will defend themselves. Some criminals broke into a zoo to steal and sell a koala for drug money and left with a crocodile because the only thing they took from the koala was a beating. Got checked so bad that they decided taking a whole crocodile would be easier. They have some of the strongest plot armor on the planet because even after everything I said about them, they're somehow not in danger, even after the fires. This plush droid just sits around doing the bare minimum while we have to work and pay taxes, so who's really the dumb one here? The name koala means no water because they get most of their moisture from the leaves they eat. They hardly ever have to drink. The antibiotic doxycycline allegedly has a 97% cure rate with koalas with chlamydia, meaning they might just make a comeback. Some koalas jump from tree to tree, and younger ones will practice their jumps between small forks and trees to build their confidence. They instinctively hug trees and people to stay cool, and I'll take back everything I ever said if I can be a koala's air conditioner.
Wholesome facts that'll
Really?
make your day slightly better. Part 2. If you've already made it to the airport without dying, you shouldn't be nervous about flying because you've already made it through the deadliest part of plane travel. Whenever you pet an animal, it actually lowers your cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone. Side note, this may not work on electric eels, porcupines, or anything that could decimate you in 2 seconds. Because guinea pigs get lonely, it's actually illegal in Switzerland to own just one. You have to get at least 2 if you want to have any at all. Sometimes tarantulas will keep tiny frogs as pets. The frogs will eat small insects that would typically eat the tarantula eggs, and in exchange, the frog gets a pretty damn good bodyguard. Capybara Land is a place in Japan where you can quite literally hang out with capybaras and see them chilling in hot springs. If 99% of the world's population finds you unattractive, that would mean that 78 million people still find you attractive.
Something out there for you, man. You got a chance. That might tell you different.
You didn't know, part 178. After being removed from the body, a normal heart can continue to beat for around 60 seconds. A heart removed from a heavy cocaine user can continue to pulsate for up to 25 minutes. Once clinical symptoms appear, rabies is 100% fatal. Haj Mohammed Mesfui was a Moroccan serial killer who murdered at least 36 women. Due to the heinous nature of his crimes, he was sentenced to immurement, sealed in an enclosed space until death.
Never knew that until today.
So more and more sightings of the Smiling Man have been reported recently. For those who don't know, the Smiling Man is a very tall, odd-looking man who wears this creepy grin and is often caught trying to steal children, as was the case with a young girl named Linda. Years ago, Linda lived in West Virginia, and one night she awoke to strange sounds in her bedroom. She rolled over to go back to sleep, but what she saw in her hallway was a tall, dark, shadowy figure. Linda closed her eyes in fear, and when she reopened them, he was standing right above her. She screamed and he disappeared, but recently there's been more reports of sightings. Legend has it, if you close your eyes at night, think the words smiling man, smiling man, smiling man over and over again. He'll appear. Would you try?
No! I'm like, no, you were spirits near me.
This is why you should never mess with your coach. Because when the students at this academy challenged their coach, claiming they could beat her in a backstroke swimming competition, she didn't just accept it, but gave them a full 5-second head start. Even though the students were already halfway across the pool, the coach finally jumped in and proved why she's the coach.
Oh, she smoked and she pulling a Michael
You
Phelps.
can clearly see from her smooth backstroke that she's not even giving it her 100%, but still outpacing them one by one with ease. She definitely deserves a like.
Yolanda Saldivar was denied parole, and I can't even begin to tell you how happy that makes me. It's been 30 years since this monster was convicted for Selena Quintanilla's murder. For those who may not know, Selena Quintanilla was an icon. She was beautiful, talented, and she was murdered at the age of 23 by Yolanda Saldivar. This tragedy happened in 1995. I was born in 96, so it's pretty crazy how almost 30 years has gone by and no one has forgotten. I don't think people will ever forget what Yolanda did. Even though she was denied parole this year, she's still eligible for parole in 2030, so let's hope that we have the same outcome. March 31st marks 30 years since Selena's death, and she would actually be 53 years old right now. And I know that if she was still here, she would be killing it.
It's not watching a horror movie trailer is the best thing you'll see all day.
He ain't messing with it. He just like me. He just like me. He don't mess with it, bro. You know we don't do scary movies out here, Seekers.
She was cooked by her crush and was served with potatoes. This is the disturbing story of a beautiful young Russian girl by the name Katrina. She was into poem writing and heavy metal, but sadly in one of these concerts, she met someone that would change her life. She met a 19-year-old man by the name of Maxon in one of these heavy metal concerts. She ended up liking him so much she started developing a crush. Her mother, on the other hand, got suspicious weird vibes from this person and didn't want her daughter to be near him. But of course, she brushed it off and she continued to talk to this person. One day she lied to her mother and said that she was gonna go stay over at a friend's house to study for a project. Her mother was hesitant, however, she insisted and she was able to go. She ended up lying to her mother to go to Maxim's apartment and meet up with other friends. These three individuals referred to her as fresh meat. When she arrived there, they drowned her and started eating her. One of the roommates claimed to have heard noise, but didn't think much of it. When she came back from work the next day, her roommates served her some potatoes with beef. Of course, she didn't think anything suspicious because what? You know, they're her roommates. Little did she know that the beef, the meat, wasn't really animal meat. The meat belonged to Katrina, who they had chopped, dismembered, and eaten. They cooked her with onions and spices in the oven. When they were interrogated, they said they ate her because they were drunk and hungry. The people in the courtroom were horrified and disgusted by the crime scene photos. They were charged for the murder of Katrina. What do we think about this disturbing case?
This is crazy things happening in the world right now. In a groundbreaking ruling, the Supreme Court has officially classified all birds as government employees. Scientists just confirmed that clouds are actually floating lakes, but the government refuses to acknowledge them as national parks. The Sun filed for retirement last month, but after intense negotiations, executive astronomers locked in a blockbuster $5 billion-year contract extension, including no trade clauses and guaranteed daily appearances.
Really?
Astronomers recently discovered that whales don't actually sing. They're just complaining about how cold the ocean is. New data suggests that oceans are getting saltier because they're growing increasingly bitter about human pollution. It was just discovered that Mars has been ignoring Earth's messages for years now and is waiting for us to take the hint. A new union has formed representing self-checkout machines, and they are now fighting for paid breaks. Neuroscientists confirmed that the human brain refuses to delete useless information, which is why people remember a jingle from 2005, but not not where they put their keys. After decades of observation, researchers have now confirmed that dolphins are conducting deep sea research, but refuse to share their findings with humans. Scientists have finally found the speed limit of the universe, but the number was so embarrassing that they refused to publish it. A shocking new study reveals that Mount Everest is actively trying to grow taller after learning it's not the biggest mountain in the solar system. The Eiffel Tower recently submitted an official request for a second identical tower because it's tired of carrying all of Paris's tourism on its back. Scientists are frustrated after a newly discovered element immediately disappeared the moment they tried to name it. In a bold new move, time zones are being replaced with
Fun fact, Australia started off as a penal colony, like they sent prisoners down there, and they also sent misbehaving rabbits down under, and they eventually became kangaroos, and my only source that made it for real though, y'all don't listen to me, I've been saying kangaroos are just felony convict buddies sentenced to life in Australia. You know what's hilarious? Those are great kangaroos. They're not the biggest ones. Red kangaroos are the max security prison deer of down under. R.I.P. Roger, but he was a 6'7", 200-pound kickboxing marsupial that crushed metal as a hobby. It's one of those animals childhood gaslit you about. It's a hot-poppy homicide case that can fold you in several ways. Let's count them. They got claws for grappling. Good luck getting out of them. That toenail sharp enough to slice your stomach open. And the worst part is that tail, because they can stand on it and kick you full force, have your soul asking for divorce. Not to mention, if you follow them into water, they have the tools, knowledge, and intent to drown you. And I have a theory why this kickboxing crash out's like this. See, back in the day, they had to deal with nonsense like a marsupial lion. Basically an over 200-pound predatory wombat on steroids with the strongest bite force of any mammal pound for pound. And Megalania, a Komodo dragon times 3. 23 feet worth of F around and flatline, ain't no finding out. I really think surviving all that gave kangaroos the most irrational confidence on Earth. Now you can't tell them nothing. A whole bicep curl encrypted. Fun fact, they show submission by coughing, so if one ever presses you, you have a choice. You can have a coughing fit or fit a coffin.
This 12-year-old child bride is shown kissing her brand new 32-year-old husband in this photo. And the story behind this picture is disturbing. So this is 32-year-old Homer Peel from Tennessee and his 12-year-old bride, Geneva. They got married somehow in the 1930s in Tennessee, but not without controversy. You see, locals in the area protested this marriage, and they were constantly making their thoughts known. I mean, obviously, this is a 12-year-old girl getting married to a 32-year-old man. It blows my mind that disgusting filth like this used to be legal here in America. But unfortunately, that's just history, and it was. So, like I said, in the 1930s, Homer decided to take his child bride down to the courthouse to get married. And get married they did. Now, Geneva's mother didn't know that she was going to the courthouse to get married, and when her mother found out about this, she filed a lawsuit to try to get the marriage annulled, essentially to cancel the marriage. However, the judge said that he wouldn't annul the marriage because, as it turned out, Geneva had been living in a poorhouse with her mother, and the judge decided that her life was better with her 32-year-old husband than with her mother in the poorhouse. So, he just decided not to annul the marriage and sent the child victim back home with her abuser. I mean, this is absolutely disgusting, disturbing shit, but predators and pedophiles aren't a modern thing. And in some cases like this, it used to be legal. Let me know if you thought this was as shocking as I did.
I will call the cops.
This video has been making its way around the internet lately, and the story behind it is so morbid. If you have not been following along, allow me to catch you up. So the woman here in the baseball cap, her name is Katrina McLean, and she's got kind of a dark hobby. No, it's not what you think. She likes to make creepy dolls. Like these kind of dolls. She says she likes to make creations that shock the mind and the soul. So that's not a big deal. I mean, I'm into all kinds of creepy things, so you know, you do you. What did she do that people are all up in arms about?
Yeah.
Well, apparently there is a special ingredient to these creepy dolls that Katrina constructs, and the secret ingredient is people. Desecrated remains, to be exact. Allegedly. Katrina, along with 6 other people, are alleged to be a part of a very sordid and illegal operation that steals human remains that were donated to a medical school. Harvard Medical School, actually. And she's alleged to have a skull and some human skin in some of her dolls. The morgue manager was running this black market operation to sell parts before they were cremated and returned to the family. And the story is still continuing to unfold.
A mysterious illness.
The things people do for money, man. Messing with somebody's remains just to make a quick buck. Why do people always have to do the heinous things, man, for money? It truly blows my mind every single time I watch these clips together with you guys, Seekers.
Has emerged in Uganda that causes uncontrollable body tremors. Since its first reported case in early 2023, Dinga Dinga, which roughly translates to shaking like dancing, has puzzled health officials, and the exact cause remains undetermined.
Start dancing
It
out.
primarily seems to be affecting women and girls. Roughly 300 cases have been documented, all of which are confined to Uganda's Bundibugyo district, and the symptoms include uncontrollable shaking, fever and fatigue, and mobility issues due to the severity of the shaking. Fortunately, no fatalities have occurred, and the illness appears to be treatable with antibiotics, leading to a recovery within a week. There has, however, been a lot of comparisons to the dancing plagues of 1518 in France. During that well-documented historical event, people started dancing uncontrollably for days, sometimes leading to exhaustion-related deaths. And while experts have never fully confirmed the cause of the dancing plague, there are a number of key differences to Dinga Dinga, leading them to believe that, don't worry, they're not the same thing.
Okay, so those are completely two separate things, man. Dancing until you check out.
This woman was buried alive by her husband. This happened in Washington when 42-year-old young Ann called police using her Apple Watch after her husband beat her and duct taped her mouth. During the 911 call, Young is heard screaming before her husband broke her Apple Watch, threw her in his van, and drove off. Video surveillance captured Che Ann driving out of the garage at the same time that police arrived to the home. Che Ann took his wife to a wooded area, stabbed her in the chest, and buried her alive in a shallow grave. She had a very hard time breathing when she was in there, but she was able to finally get out several hours later and ran to the nearest home and asked for help. It was said that their fight started because they were talking about divorce and finances. Che Ann was charged with attempted first-degree murder, domestic violence, and kidnapping.
Here are some signs that you or a friend could possibly be a serial killer. And this is like a real problem too. Like apparently in our lifetimes we're going to walk past 16 murderers. And apparently if you live in the city, that almost triples. Make sure to stay till the end too, because I'm going to tell you which zodiac sign is #1 in serial killing. The first one is typically a serial killer is very, very antisocial. They don't like being the center of attention because if you're the center of attention, you have more eyes on you, which means that you can't really do your murders. The second one is a lot of them are obsessed with fire. That's because when somebody lights something on fire, they have complete control of what this flame is doing. The third one is their IQ level. Some of the most famous serial killers that we know in history are some of the smartest people ever. Even your disorganized serial killers are typically above normal intelligence. And the #1 zodiac sign for serial killers is a Pisces. Being a Pisces says you have a very, very big heart, but you also know how to manipulate it. Apparently, if you guys go through something traumatic, you can handle a lot of the pain, but you dish out 100 times more than you got.
Child marriage used to be legal in America, and the story of this marriage is one of the most disturbing things I've ever read about. This is 9-year-old Eunice Winstead, and this is her legal husband at the time, Charlie Johns. So on January 19th, 1937, Eunice, who was 9 years old at the time, left her mother's house. On that morning, she told her parents that she was going out to buy herself a new doll. But instead, the 9-year-old was headed to the courthouse to meet her 22-year-old future husband, Charlie Johns. So at the time of this affair, there was no age limit on marriage in Tennessee. I mean, technically, someone could have married an adult and a baby if they paid off the minister and got everything to go through properly. And so on that day, 22-year-old Charlie offered a local Baptist preacher named Walter $1, which equates to around $21 today. And the preacher accepted the offer, came into the church, and married the 9-year-old to the 22-year-old. I mean, obviously, words cannot possibly describe how disturbing images like these are. Now, at first, both Charlie and Eunice's parents disapproved of the marriage, but after some thought, they eventually approved the marriage, and they just allowed them to live together and be married. Now, sadly, Eunice dropped out of school at the age of 9 after her husband, Charlie, pulled her out, and she began giving birth to their children at age 15. They'd eventually have 8 children together. I just cannot believe that shit like this used to happen in America. Comment your thoughts on this below.
That's, like you said, it's not a modern thing. This thing was way, way back, bro. I didn't think about it, man. There was, there was no laws back then, man. So they was just probably just going crazy. No regulation. It's a very dangerous time to be in. You know what this is, man. We expert level.
You ever go to an NBA game, you can't help but think, this is your life. How do you miss shots ever? Same thing here, like, respectfully, I don't know. I guess I just expected a walking sand ship to be better than this. Act like you've been here before. Well, actually, funny thing about that. Tell camels to go back to where they came from, and after they spit on your entire lineage, they'll start showing up in America. Yeah, camels originated in North America. The OG hump jockey's more native to Texas than the Sahara. There's even a story about a demonic man-eating camel terrorizing 1800s Arizona, but that's for another video. Yeah, the first camels were seasoned by snow from the Arctic, not sand. Something else you might not know, the lap track of Lion King actually used to run through Eurasia during the Ice Age, which means they have a whole winter coat at the ready if it ever gets cold enough. You ever seen a fluffy hyena? Just know, when you're being mean to the hyens, you're hating on him too. Their biggest ops have a winter fit too, although to be fair, these are Asian lions. I don't know what it is. There's just something really cozy about this picture. Okay, last one. Cheetahs are fast. Did you know that? Well, there used to be an American cheetah, and they're long gone, but the evidence is still there if you look close enough. This is a pronghorn. They're like the forgotten little brother of giraffes, and yes, they're related. They're also the second fastest mammals alive, because the cats might have stopped chasing them, but the prongs are still running. The more you know. Ain't gonna lie, this video was just an excuse to show the fluffy hyena, and I'm not about to apologize for it.
Fluffy
My biggest fear was having an ugly baby. Now look what the fuck I got. Look at him. He is so funny looking.
How dare you say something like this about your own child? To all the moms watching this, do you think this is normal? Now, I'm not married, I don't have kids, but this is messed up. You've been carrying this child for 9 months. This child is your own skin, and you go and call him ugly publicly online. To me, miss, your child looks adorable. There are women out there that gave birth to babies missing arms and legs, and they were never treated differently than other kids. These kids eventually grow up winning golden medals in Special Olympics. But the thing is, there's nothing wrong with your child, miss. What a shame. What a shame.
Truly, man.
This is why you should always keep pictures of your parents. A little girl named Olivia, who lived a very quiet life, decided to check her homework assignments that were posted online. The teacher posted that they needed to write down their favorite memory with their family, as well as bring a photograph. Olivia then writes about how her and her mom play dolls every night in the basement before bed, and that she has a lot of fun doing so. She finishes her paragraph and then looks in her dad's drawer for a photograph of mom. She only found pictures of her mom from high school, but decided to use it anyway. Olivia goes to bed and wakes up the next morning. Once she arrives at school, the teacher then says, let's start presenting our project. Then the teacher called Olivia's name to present. Olivia then begins to read about how her and her mom play dolls every night, and then pulls out the photograph. As soon as Olivia pulled out the photograph, her teacher's face goes numb. She then asked Olivia if she can take a closer look at the photograph. She then recognized her mom as one of her previous students. Then the teacher asked, where did you get this photo? Olivia says, my dad keeps them in his drawer. The teacher, shocked, sits down Olivia and pulls out an old newspaper. The newspaper headline, local high school teen murdered, boyfriend gone missing. The teacher then looks at Olivia and says, your mom has been dead for 14 years.
This is the creepy story of 23-year-old Fan Man Lee and how her head was found in a Hello Kitty doll. Fan Man Lee struggled with addiction for a very long time, and in 1997 she met 34-year-old Chan Man Lok, who was a drug dealer and a pimp. That year, Fan Man Lee became desperate for money and drugs, so she stole $4,000 from Chan Man Lok. When he noticed that the money was missing, he asked his two friends to kidnap Fan Man Yi. Originally, his plan was to force Fan Man Yi into prostitution so she can pay him back, but his plan got out of hand and he did something much worse. Chan Man Lok, his friends, and his girlfriend began torturing Fan Man Yi. They tied her up and beat her, burned her, sexually assaulted her, and forced her to eat human feces. Eventually, Fan Man Yi passed away, so they cut her body into pieces, boiled it, and then fed some of the remaining pieces to the dogs. This is where things get super creepy. The three men decided to stuff Fan Man Yi's head into a Hello Kitty doll. And get this, the crime was eventually reported by Chan Man Lok's girlfriend. She basically told on herself because she claimed to be haunted by the ghost of a dead woman. She said that this ghost would not stop tormenting her until she confessed to the murder. It's been said that the building where Fan Man Yi passed away has been haunted for a very long time. People claim to see the figure of a woman walking in the hallways and also claim to hear the cries of a woman.
Haunted? They said the building was demolished, so there was truth to that story, validity to it, man.
These are the craziest discoveries we made in 2024. Starting in England, where amateur archaeologists unearthed one of the largest Roman dodecahedrons ever found. Till this day, though, what they were used for still remains a mystery. In Iran, they discovered the world's oldest lipstick, dating back 4,000 years. An Italian junk dealer discovered that the old painting he had hung up at his family-owned restaurant was actually an original Picasso, now worth over $6.6 million. In Botswana, the world's second largest diamond ever was unearthed, and we were gifted with this clip. What? Back to Earth, a scientific expedition in Peru discovered 27 new species, including an amphibious mouse and a blob-headed fish. Scientists discovered an association between low testosterone and high anxiety. Japan discovered the skeleton panda sea squirt, which, for such a random name, is somehow the perfect description. And how could we forget? The evolution of life on Earth and even space was thrown into question after the discovery of dark oxygen on the floor of the Pacific Ocean.
What the did I just watch? I don't know how I'm going to sleep after watching this documentary. This documentary is about people who die and have no next of kin and how the coroner deals with them. And fair warning, they show everything in this documentary. From the beginning, I was not expecting it, and it literally shows a guy on the toilet. If you love documentaries, make sure to hit follow because I post daily and you'll never miss out on what to watch. This whole film is haunting, unnerving, heartbreaking. The amount of people that just pass away without any loved ones around them are just left for the city to deal with, and they have to try to find somebody to claim them is so heartbreaking. This made me feel like I really need to have children so that this doesn't happen to me. And it's so crazy to see the people who do this as a job. I'm sitting there with my jaw on the floor and these people are just wrapping them up and tossing them down the hallway. I guess you get used to seeing it, but it's just so astonishing. Typically, I show the trailer in the background when I make videos, but I can't even play the trailer in this because I would have to censor the whole thing. I'm sure some of you do this as a job, and I would love to hear about it in the comments. Have you guys seen...
I didn't even imagine that, man. Like, passing away with no next of kin, and they have to figure out what to do with it. Somebody else deciding what to do with your remains, I can't go through with that, man. That's why you gotta be thankful for your family.
This yet, Ken Urger posted this photo onto his Instagram account about an hour ago showing that he and Gypsy Rose have had the baby. His caption says, "Welcoming 2025 with the greatest gift of all," with a baby emoji. They've named the baby Aurora Reina Urker, and a lot of people were thinking that the name Aurora came from the Princess Sleeping Beauty. Because, you know, when she was growing up, she was oftentimes dressed as a Disney princess and made frequent trips to Walt Disney World. And she loved Disney princesses. And then other people were thinking they chose that name after Christie's dog, Aurora Grace. But she says here, back whenever Ken and I were together 7 years ago, both of us have a fascination with the Northern Lights. And the proper term is the Aurora Borealis. I think it was maybe in 2018, we wrote each other's future kid's name on pieces of paper, and Aurora is what we both picked without even knowing each other was picking it. She said they held on to that name and that memory even after she and Urker split and she married Ryan Anderson. When we had broken up, it was like, oh, Aurora is never going to be born. A lot of people think the origin is one thing, but they don't know that little story. So, congratulations to Gypsy Rose and Ken, and let's all hope and pray she doesn't turn out to be her mother.
Who is Vexbolts?
Oh,
Why are people planning to mass unfollow him? Vexbolts is a content creator known for his Fortnite videos, including one that went viral for his Let Him Cook audio. But now many TikTokers are vowing to leave Vexbolts in 2024, joining a trend that asks users to unfollow him today before we ring in the new year. Comment sections have been flooded with calls to unfollow Vexbolts, who has now surpassed 8 million followers, many of whom only followed him to participate in the mass unfollowing. Some claim they're unfollowing the creator because his content is cringeworthy, but others are simply joining in on the trend for fun. So will you be participating?
Well, we're leaving, man. I remember seeing that shit, bro. They said they were gonna leave it for 2024, man. Everybody needs to leave some, bro, in 2024 going into the new
Scary
year.
facts that will give you nightmares, part 2. The chainsaw was originally invented by 2 surgeons from Scotland to help assist in childbirth. A surgical procedure known as tooth in the eye surgery was made popular in the 1960s. Surgeons would put a tooth in a blind person's eye in order to restore their sight. This procedure works and is still being done in some cases today. And lastly, hundreds of people die every year from being strangled by their own bed sheets.
She was killed by her own people. This is what happened to 30-year-old Annie Mae Aquash. Annie Mae was born on March 27, 1945, and was born into the Mikwok First Nation. Annie Mae was a part of the American Indian movement, and she was just extremely passionate about human rights and the preservation of tribal communities. She was a mother of 2, so she was fighting for her children's safety and future. Throughout her time with the American Indian movement, she was arrested on federal weapons-related charges, but she was quickly released. She was arrested for a second time in November of 1975. However, she was released just 10 days later on November 25th. Due to how quickly she was released, some members of the American Indian movement started to believe that maybe she was working as an informant for the FBI, and that's why she was released so quickly. The last time anyone saw Annie Mae was in the middle of December, and then just 2 months later, on February 24th, 1976, a farmer in South Dakota stumbled upon a frozen, badly decomposed body. The farm was located along the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and this corpse was wearing blue jeans, a maroon jacket, and they were laying with their knees pushed up all the way to their chest. Police were called to the scene, and a coroner determined that this was a woman and that they had been dead for more than 2 months. Due to the condition of the body, it took a little bit over a week for police to identify this corpse as 30-year-old Annie Mae Aquash. Initially, they believed that she died of exposure, that she froze to death. They buried her, and that was that. When her family and friends heard the news about her death, they were just completely shocked. They were trying to figure out what had happened since the last time she was seen in December to when her body was found in February. I mean, what happened in those 2 months? They just had a gut feeling that something more had happened. They requested a second autopsy. They exhumed her body, and this new autopsy revealed that Annie Mae had a gunshot wound to the back of her head. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't the consequence of exposure. Annie Mae was murdered. Her friends and family initially believed that maybe the FBI had done this to silence her. However, it was later revealed that no, the FBI didn't do this. Instead, she was kidnapped, R-worded, and unalived on December 12, 1975 by 3 members of the American Indian movement. Her family just couldn't believe that she was betrayed by those she trusted and by people she believed had her back. As of today, someone has been convicted for the murder of Annie Mae and has been sentenced to life in prison, but were more people involved? Her family believes that maybe higher-level officials at the American Indian movement could have ordered her death because they truly believed that she was an FBI informant. It's been nearly 30 years since Annie Mae, a mother, a sister, a beloved friend, a human being, was killed. To hear more about what happened to Annie Mae, make sure to watch Vow of Silence on Hulu to uncover the truth, and let me know what you guys think about this down below.
This is a true horrifying story of what Jahannam really is. Jahannam is hellfire. It is a place of eternal punishment. It is believed amongst all religions. In some religions, like Christianity, hell is a spiritual dimension, so it's only the souls that are tortured in hell. But that's not really the case. Hellfire is a physical place. It does exist. It is a world just like any other world. It has valleys, mountains, and canyons. But it's not only a world. This thing breathes, it roars, it speaks. Hellfire is a beast. Hellfire eats sinners for a living. The more you feed it, the hungrier it gets. It is so big, it is chained by 70,000 chains. And on each chain, there are 70,000 angels pulling it. I'm talking about 4.9 billion angels. Do you know how big an angel can be based on Islamic narrations? An angel can tip over a country with the tip of one of its wings. Imagine the size of an angel. Now imagine 4.9 billion of them just struggling to hold down hellfire. Hell has 7 gates, and the guardian angel of hellfire is Malik. Malik is the only angel that never smiled. Let me tell you how terrifying this place is. In hellfire, there are clouds of acid. People that enter are given clothing made from fire. The temperature in there are millions of kelvins. Nothing compared to the sun. People in hellfire are privileged in size. God makes them so big. One of their teeth will be the size of Mountain Uhud. Why are they so big, you ask? So they burn slower. You will hear disturbing sounds of screams from people in there. They will beg for food and water, and they will be told to go down to the bottom of hell to find the tree of Zaqum. Zaqum is a fruit made in hellfire. It is so hot, one narration says if this fruit accidentally dropped on earth, it will burn down the whole globe. They will be given boiling water to drink. The water will be so hot, their faces would melt before they drink it. And if you decide not to drink nor eat, they will force feed you till you have a full stomach. Hellfire is also a place of ambush. There are other creatures in there that will attack you. I'll leave the rest for Mu'min Abu Mecca to explain. I'm not sure how other religions describe it, but in Islam, this is hellfire. And no one can sacrifice themselves for your sins.
Part 1.
Let's talk about
Firstly, passengers on a flight departing from Hong Kong International Airport left after midnight January 1st. Well, due to them crossing time zones, they landed in Los Angeles International Airport on December 31st at 8:30 p.m., allowing them to celebrate New Year's 2 times in a row. Next, in the country of Zambia, on New Year's Eve, a police officer who was intoxicated freed 13 prisoners so they could celebrate the new year out in public. Well, there is now currently a manhunt for the 13 prisoners, and the police officer was arrested. Finally, one thing I was not expecting to happen in 2025 already is to have a judge wearing a VR headset to experience a crime in first person. Do you guys feel like this is the right way to use technology?
These teenagers were killed in their sleep by the last person anyone would expect. It was the 1st of November 2018 in Oklahoma. Kason Tolliver was 18 years old. His sister was 16-year-old Chloe. They also had a younger 14-year-old sister who remains anonymous. Kason was a talented football player and was a senior in high school. Chloe was described as a sweet, kind girl who loved cheerleading. Their mum was 43-year-old Amy Hall. In the early hours of the morning on the day in question, she crept into her son's bedroom and shot him in the head. He was instantly killed. Now his friend was sleeping over in the same room and started to call police. Amy then walked into Chloe's room that she shared with her younger sister and shot them both. The younger sister was grazed in the neck but managed to flee to the bathroom. It was there that she convinced her mum to hand over the gun. Police sped round to the scene at around 6:30 a.m. that morning and rushed Chloe to hospital. Tragically, she was declared brain dead and passed away 4 days after. Meanwhile, Amy had fled the house and was involved in a high-speed car chase with police. She was eventually apprehended and taken into custody. Amy later claimed that she killed her children in order to save them from her estranged husband. There was allegedly an ongoing custody battle. She has pleaded guilty and been sentenced to life in prison.
Those custody battles always have tragic endings.
There is a shack called the Devil's Toy Box in Louisiana, and for some reason people who go in lose their mind. Do you know the tingly feeling you get when you eat a pineapple?
Yeah.
Well, that's because the pineapple is eating you. It has an enzyme called bromelain, and that enzyme eats meat, which you're made of. Now you can check if your phone activity is being monitored. Just click on share, slide all the way to the end, click more. And if any apps appear before your contacts, you should delete it immediately. Sharks have been around for 420 million years, meaning they have survived all 4 big mass extinctions, making them older than dinosaurs, Mount Everest, and even some trees on this planet.
Damn.
The person who invented homework came up with the idea as a punishment for students.
It worked.
Morbid Facts, Part 476.
This 2022 photo shows 40-year-old Russian mother Anna Uskova moments before she jumped into a frozen river. She was apparently following a Christian Orthodox tradition of Epiphany and believed that jumping into the frigid water would rid her of sin. However, she jumped in at a bad angle and was quickly swept away by the powerful current, trapping her under the ice. Her husband immediately jumped in to rescue her while their children screamed in horror. But his efforts were unsuccessful and her body was recovered 10 days later. This was the truck belonging to Missouri town bully Ken McElroy after he was killed in broad daylight by an angry mob in 1981. Over the course of his life, McElroy was accused of dozens of felonies, including assault, child molestation, burglary, animal cruelty, arson, and statutory rape. He always managed to escape serving time until eventually being convicted of attempted murder, but McElroy appealed and was released on bond before he immediately threatened to kill several people. An angry mob then showed up at the bar he was drinking at and shot him several times in his truck while he was attempting to leave. Despite over 40 different witnesses, nobody admitted to seeing the murder take place, and no one has been charged to this day.
They stuck true to the code. They said stitches. Snitches get stitches, bro. That's definitely not it.
Facts about the ocean that are scarier than any horror movie. First up, I bet you didn't know that you can literally melt in the ocean. Because in the deep sea, there's something called hydrothermal vents that can reach up to 750 degrees Fahrenheit, which will allegedly cause your body to melt. But by then, you probably wouldn't even notice because all your bones would have likely been crushed by the pressure. The next fact is honestly even scarier to think about. You know how we have so many scary stories about sea creatures, like sirens, the Loch Ness Monster, or giant squids? Well, a lot of the creatures that used to be just a story are slowly being discovered as real. For example, the giant squid, which scientists found were not only real and over 59 feet in length, but are also cannibals. If that's not bad enough, here's more. Because the ocean is basically a giant graveyard. In 2014, researchers diving into an underwater cave in Mexico found the remains of a girl estimated to be 13,000 years old, meaning there's a high likelihood that if you go missing or drown that you would probably never be found. There's also 10 million viruses in every drop of seawater, meaning viruses in the ocean outnumber all of the stars in the Milky Way. The actual number is estimated to be 1 nonillion, which is a number I've never heard before, but here it is written out. That itself makes me never want to go swimming in the ocean again. Follow for more.
Extinct animal.
Hey man, be careful when y'all be swimming and jumping into those lakes when y'all doing dish, bro. Cause now there's 1 million viruses in the water, man. Didn't even know that was a damn number until today. We learning.
Most scientists are close to reviving. Firstly, the woolly mammoth. It was believed to have gone extinct 25,000 years ago, but scientists discovered hundreds that just died recently. So they're planning to put its DNA inside African elephants, and they expect to bring them back in the next 5 years. Next, dodo birds were hunted to extinction 400 years ago, but a preserved head was recently discovered. By mixing that DNA with a maned pigeon, dodo birds should be coming back in 15 years. Finally, expect to see saber-toothed tigers outside soon, because scientists discovered DNA preserved in tar pits, and they plan to combine it with African lions. So this 10-inch toothed beast should be coming back in 10 years.
Morbid facts.
Can't mess with the
Part
ecosystem.
477. In 2016, a man who'd been continuously stalking Miranda Cosgrove apparently plotted to murder her. For 3 days, the stalker had been burying various weapons in Cosgrove's backyard, including knives and a rope. One day, he spent hours pacing around the area and eventually shot at a woman who looked like the iCarly actress. The man then performed self-immolation before turning the gun on himself right in Cosgrove's yard. Miranda has stated that she still lives in the same house, but refuses to stay there alone ever since that traumatic incident. Earlier this year, inmates at a Miami prison managed to birth a child without ever even meeting each other face to face. 23-year-old Joanne DePaz and 29-year-old Daisy Link, both imprisoned for separate murder charges, started talking to each other through the air vents before falling in love and eventually wanting kids. Using a makeshift line made out of bedding, they passed Joanne's erectoplasm through the vents, while Daisy used a yeast infection applicator to inseminate herself. Against all odds, the plan worked, and the baby was born healthy. The pair are now in different prisons, while Joanne's mother is raising their baby girl.
Things invented by...
Vent baby, bro? Do you know how freaking, like... I guess, inventive. You have to come up with a method to get freaking pregnant in prison by using the damn vid. You'd be a top tier thinker. Woo.
Different countries. US. Bulb.
First light bulb.
India. 0 digit. France. Bicycle. England. Computer.
Really?
Malaysia. USB. Germany. Car. Japan. Laptop. Italy. Battery. Sweden. Dynamite.
Hybrid animal.
Okay.
You won't believe exist. Dog plus cat. Cubby.
Copy.
Lion plus tiger.
Liger. Aren't ligers, they're supposed to be like really rare, right? But I heard they don't live long because of the combination.
Goat plus sheep. Geep. Jaguar plus lion. Jaglion.
Jackman.
Polar bear plus grizzly bear. Roller bear.
These are some weird combos. I've never seen them before. The Jagman, bro, was the most shocking to me. Goes to show you, man. The genetic pot, I guess. You mix them up.
Animal facts, we're
Something
leaving
will
in
happen.
2024 because this app's going ghost and I am not doing this again. Black Panther's not an animal, it is not real. Panther means Panthera, so any cat in genus Panthera is a panther. So any of these cats being black is a Black Panther. This is a Black Panther. This is a Black Panther. This is AI. But it's hypothetically a Black Panther. Otters don't do this, and the fact that some of y'all think otherwise makes me angry. Male otters literally kidnap babies to hold as ransom for food. I promise you a pretty privileged hydro honey badger ain't operating off compassion. Elephants don't think you're cute, I don't know where that came from. Actually, I do, but that's for another video. But no, elephants don't think of us as cute, they think of us as pale predators. Probably why they life retire 500 people a year, allegedly. These aren't killer whales, they're whale killers. They're giant biracial assault dolphins. Well, actually, anything like a dolphin, whale, porpoise, whatever with teeth is a toothed whale. Dolphins are a type of toothed whale, and orcas are a type of dolphin. So every orca's a dolphin, every dolphin's a type of toothed whale, but not every toothed whale is a dolphin. Also, every tortoise is a turtle, but not every turtle is a tortoise. Pandas aren't bad at life, they're bad at adjustments. We've done way more to them than for them. I remember folks tried to get 2 pandas in Hong Kong to menage a deux for 10 years, but they thought the Oreo incels were too stupid to mate. A couple months of quarantine and isolation later, and the pandas were making a beast with 2 backs, and I think that pretty much sums up our relationship with them. Also, alpha wolves aren't real, it's literally just their parents. If you call your father alpha, that's your own omega business, not mine.
In 2005, a 37-year-old man from Houston, Texas decided to go to the beach to fish. The sand on this beach was super compact, meaning that it kind of felt like concrete. So it wasn't uncommon for people to take their cars on this beach. And on this specific day, John decided to drive his truck all the way up close to the shore where he unloaded and began to fish. He waded into the water so that he was about waist deep and began to fish. After a few hours of fishing, the weather started to get a little worse. And John, who had been out there for most of the day at this point, was beginning to feel a little bit tired. So he decided that he would take a nap. But instead of taking a nap inside of his truck, which was right next to him, he decided to crawl underneath it and sleep under the truck. And soon, John drifted to sleep. Hours went by and soon it was dark outside. Unfortunately, while John was sleeping, the tide came up and his truck began to sink in the soft sand. And in doing this, it crushed him to death.
The craziest coincidences ever, part 3. Two men accidentally swam into each other at a pool party at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. But when they looked at each other, they were shocked when they realized they were identical. They even had the same hat and sunglasses, and their builds were exactly the same. In 1945, a man named Tsutomu Yamaguchi was on a business trip in Hiroshima when an atomic bomb hit the city. He was slightly injured in the blast, but he survived. After this, he returned to his home in Nagasaki, which took 3 days because of the chaos. He went to his office and tried to explain what happened in Hiroshima to his boss, but his boss didn't believe him. Then another atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki right next to his office, but he survived again. When he managed to get home, he found his house had been significantly damaged. But miraculously, his wife and children also survived the blast. So the question is he the luckiest or unluckiest man alive?
This terrifying serial killer.
Luckiest man alive. 2 bombings back to back. He's the GOAT, bro. I don't know what else to say, man. That's good activity.
Kidnapped a 17-year-old girl who was able to brainwash and outsmart the serial killer. This is a case that you guys have been begging me to cover ever since I started posting. Bobby Joe Long had a terrible childhood like most serial killers do. His mother gave birth to him when she was only 17 years old, and then his father abandoned him and his mom when he was only 2. And Bobby's mom was a pretty bad mom, and Bobby had some mommy issues because of it. His mother was really neglectful, always out partying, leaving Bobby home alone, and then his mom would bring home these random men for like a hookup, a one-night stand. But the thing is, Bobby and his mother could only afford a 1-bedroom apartment, and Bobby and his mom shared the same bed, meaning that his mother was bringing home these random men and sleeping with them on the same mattress that her son Bobby was sleeping in. And somehow that's not the worst of it, because Bobby and his mom shared the same bed up until Bobby was a teenager, meaning his mom was hooking up with random men in the same bed as her teenage son. And when Bobby was younger, when this was happening, he used to pretend to be asleep and just lay there as silently and still as possible. But when he got older, he started to watch his mom hook up with these men. And
that damages his psyche, bro. I guess that's the best way I could put that, man. Sharing a bed with your mom till you're that old, and she's doing that in front of you, that will scar you for life. That doesn't excuse his actions, but
I don't know if it's just me, but animal nerds piss me off, bro. Because for some reason, they always have to tell you the darkest fact about your favorite animal that you didn't even ask.
And I'm gonna do it again. Matter of fact, what's your favorite animal?
Favorite animals are otters and seals.
Say less. If you see a sea otter with its nose ripped off, it's almost definitely a female, because the otter mating process involves a male clamping his jaws around her face to hold her in place. Consent sold separately. In fact, it might be discontinued. The males can get so aggressive that they completely destroy the female's nose, where it gets infected and swells to the point where the female can't eat and just starves to death. Or the male gets too excited and accidentally waterboards his partner in the process, which is only a tragedy to one of them, since males reportedly can't tell the difference between an active breathing participant and a soul-evicted carcass, because they treat them exactly the same. Now, you'd expect an animal that dates like this to have more males than females. Problem is, that sometimes leaves an aggressive testosterone incel weasel without a mate. In some of these lower female areas, these down bad water wolverines will settle for anything roughly the same size, which can lead the male sea otters breaking the seal with no approval, and sometimes even guarding the life-retired body for up to a week. Now, it doesn't happen that often, it's pretty rare, and only in those places with a severe gender imbalance. But what was your other favorite animal?
It's seals.
Oh, well, some fur seals in Antarctica have the same problem, where a lack of female causes a hormonal hot dog without abundance taken in to resort to. Yeah, there have been multiple recorded instances of fur seals forcing themselves on king penguins. In one case, a seal assault lasted 14 hours until it eventually gave up and just ate the bird. And now you know why penguins waddle. Say something else. I want you to.
This mom helped her
She
son
will expose
cover
them
up his
all.
girlfriend's murder. Emily Peguero was born on July 12, 2001 in the Dominican Republic. She had 2 older siblings, a brother and a sister, so she was the baby of the family. Everyone describes her as being absolutely beautiful, very kind and loving, and just extremely bright. Her parents were very hardworking people. They didn't come from a lot of money, but they did their best to provide a good life for Emily and her siblings. When Emily was a little girl, she would often play with a neighbor that lived across the street, and his name is Marlon Martinez. So even though they were neighbors and lived right next to each other, they came from very different families. Marlon's mother, Marlene, was very well known around the community. She worked in politics, so she had a lot of connections. They lived in this very big house that was guarded by a large gate, while Emily lived in a more humble, tiny home. Emily and Madelon grew up very close to each other, and when Emily was 15 years old and Madelon was 18 years old, they began to date. So yes, she was a minor. They dated for a few months, and when Emily was 16 years old and Madelon was now 19 years old, they found out that Emily was pregnant. Of course, Emily's family was very scared and very nervous because the baby of the family was now going to have her own baby. It was definitely a scary situation, but they were supportive of Emily. As for Madelon's family, his mom was not happy about this. She was very upset about the fact that her son got a poor girl pregnant, and she was really worried about the family's reputation. She honestly didn't even care that Emily was 16 and was so young and going through this really big life-changing moment. She cared more about how this was going to affect her son's future and how this was going to affect him going to college. Despite his mom's opinion, Madelon told Emily and her dad that he was going to step up, take responsibility for this, and take care of Emily and the baby. Fast forward to August 23rd, 2017, Emily is now 5 months pregnant and she's expecting a baby boy. That day, Emily had plans to go to the clinic with Madelon to go pick up some lab results, and then she said that she would be back later that day. So Madelon picked her up at around 8:30 in the morning, and the two of them headed off to the clinic. At around 11:25 in the morning, Emily texted her older sister saying that Madelon was actually going to drop her off at a gas station because she had plans to go meet up with their uncle. Now, as soon as Emily's sister and their mom saw this message, they were immediately concerned. First of all, Emily always sends voice messages, so the fact that she texted this time was extremely odd. Second of all, they were thinking, what uncle? Like, what uncle is Emily meeting with, and why don't we know about this meetup? Why would the uncle ask Emily to meet him at the gas station? Like, none of this made any sense. Now again, since the families are neighbors, they can literally see Madelon arriving home completely alone across the street. So Emily's sister decides to go across the street to ask Madelon, where is my sister? Where did you leave her? And that's when Madelon explains that as they were driving to the clinic, Emily realized that she got the dates confused and that her results weren't going to be ready that day, but instead be ready Friday. So she asked Madelon to take her home, and as they were driving, she said, actually, can you drop me off at the gas station? My uncle is going to pick me up there. So that's exactly what he did, and that was the last time that he saw or spoke to her. Again, Emily's family was extremely suspicious of this, so they decided to go to the gas station and ask the employees for the surveillance footage. And when they got to the gas station and looked at the footage, they were shocked by what they saw. Well, actually, they were shocked by what they didn't see. Okay, go to part 2.
She was paragliding when suddenly a storm comes out of nowhere, pulls her into the heart of it, and then propels her up 33,000 feet in the sky, which is higher than Mount Everest and the same cruising altitude as planes. At this height, temperatures plummet to negative 58 degrees and oxygen levels are dangerously low, creating a fatal environment. On the way up, she's hit with hail the size of golf balls before she ultimately loses consciousness. And then, despite being unconscious for over 40 minutes, she wakes up. Her paraglider remains stable due to the strong upward currents preventing a fatal spiral. Thankfully, the storm's downdrafts eventually brought her back to a lower and safer altitude. And then once she woke up, even though she was disoriented and barely able to move, she managed to regain control of her paraglider and land safely. In the end, she suffered frostbite bruises and shock, but she was still alive, and that's remarkable. Another professional who experienced the same thing wasn't so lucky. If you're a fan of my content, please do me a favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is linked in my bio before this app gets banned.
How did she do that? Not lucky that has to be free to happen.
Less than 2 hours after that video was filmed, the girl on stage in that video would be dead. Her name was Christina Grimmie. She was a famous singer here in America, and she was murdered in 2016. So Christina had been making music and performing all of her life, but her real rise to fame started when she was on the show The Voice. After Christina was on The Voice, the world kind of opened up for her. She made her major label debut, she started going on tours all across the world, and she was a rising star. Sadly, though, she attracted the attention of a very disturbed individual who can actually be seen here in footage from her final show, creepily watching Christina perform from the crowd, knowing what he was about to do. That man was 27-year-old Kevin James Loibl. So Christina's performance that evening ended at about 10 p.m., and afterwards she moved over to a little booth to sign autographs for people who had come to the show. At around 10:24 p.m., Kevin approached Christina. Christina, thinking he was just like every other fan there, opened her arms up to give him a big hug. But that's when Kevin retrieved a Glock pistol from his person and shot her 3 times at point-blank range. After the shots rang out, Christina's brother tackled Kevin to the ground. Yes, sadly, Christina's brother was there working the booth with her that evening. But after a fight, Kevin managed to get himself free. He retrieved his Glock and he took his own life right next to Christina's body. Sadly, Christina had been shot twice in the chest and once in the head. And by 10:59 p.m., not even a full hour after she finished her performance, Christina Grimmie was pronounced dead. Afterwards, Kevin's family left this note for the media. This was all they had to say after the tragedy. But fans even to this day remember Christina as an amazing singer and talk about the potential that she had if she hadn't been taken from this world so quickly. If you want to listen to more true crime stories, check out the podcast Murder in America that I co-host with my wife, Courtney. You can listen to it on any streaming platform.
Be here 1 minute, gone the next, man. She was a great person. Just trying to be nice, trying to show some love to her fans, and look what happened. Now, you know, wow, these, I guess, big people, famous people, bro, why they always be having security around.
This is part 2 of what went on during the Habersham County press conference on Debbie Collier this morning. I highly suggest you go to the other video that I just made so that you can hear all the other details as well. So, the most crazy information that they did give during this press conference was that Amanda did speak to Debbie on the phone that afternoon. So he does not have the exact time on it. But whenever somebody asked if Amanda would give any indication on why she was going to the Family Dollar store, the police officer said that Amanda said that Debbie was going to the Family Dollar to buy supplies to clean Amanda's house. This raises so many questions for me because, I mean, first, why would you drive 90 minutes north to go to a Family Dollar to buy cleaning supplies when there's all these stops along the way and near her house to be able to get the same supplies? And the weirdest thing, none of that supplies is used to clean a house. I mean, paper towels, yeah, sure, but a torch, a poncho, a tarp, what would that be used for to clean a house? And coincidentally, all that supplies was found at the murder scene. They also confirmed that Amanda was living in Maryland with her brother, and she moved back down on the 8th of September. And remember, Steve lets Amanda live in the rental house off and on, basically whenever Amanda needs somewhere to stay. It was also confirmed that Steve was working from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. parking vehicles for the football game that was going on, and they have all of it on CCTV, so it's very unlikely that he's involved. So Amanda spoke to Debbie that afternoon. She got the Venmo transaction at 3:17, and then she waited a whole 3 hours to contact the police and file a missing persons report. And we don't know if Amanda tried to call her mom or anything between the Venmo transaction and when the police report was filed. That was pretty much the extent of the information that they gave. The detective did mention that this is not a sprint and that they're going to take their time on this to be able to get all the information correct, which honestly I respect. Like, get all the information and then do what you need to do. Especially so whenever someone's found, court is smooth and there's no question or anything, to not be able to give this person the maximum punishment. One more thing is that they did mention that the autopsy is not completed yet. They have not received the report, and that the medical examiners gave them a 6-week time frame, likely because they're waiting on that toxicology report to come back. Okay. So let me know what you guys are thinking. They did say that they will do another press conference as soon as they get the autopsy report back, and hopefully by then they have more information. I think it's interesting that no one has been ruled out yet. And I will be super interested to see the timeline that they come up with whenever they get all the access to the phones. It's not really looking good, though, for Miss Bearden.
But then they're taking their time with that case. Imagine seeing that when you wake up. Speaking gibberish? I'm trying to say a ritual or something? Interesting.
I don't know, dude.
Human lightning bolt, bro.
Oh my god. What is that?
For a while, and it's like not that full anymore. And I was like, why is all of this still showing? What is happening?
Yeah, we just gave the same look. What's inside that tree?
The video begins innocently enough with a guest filming their friend lounging on a bed in the historic hotel.
My nightstand.
But watch what happens.
Is my eyes shut? So early bedtime looking for ghosts.
It can be hard to see at first, but if we slow it down, something seems to zip by the camera.
Oh, we saw that.
Some viewers believe it looks like a little girl.
It's kind of hard to tell.
The Crescent Hotel has long been a hotspot for paranormal activity with countless reports of apparitions, unexplained noises and ghostly encounters. This latest clip has only added fuel to the fire, leaving many wondering if the spectral girl is yet another spirit tied to the building's dark history. Opened in 1886, the Crescent Hotel was initially a luxury resort, but later gained notoriety for its use as a hospital in the late 1930s, under the infamous Norman Baker. A con man posing as a doctor, Baker claimed to cure cancer without surgery, using questionable treatments. Many patients tragically died during their stays, and their spirits are now said to haunt the halls to this day.
I won't be staying there.
This is my home. We've lived here, I guess about 40 years now. This is where everything started. Everything started about our work. Something awful happened here, Ed.
What is it? Whatever Lorraine sees, feels, touches, takes a toll on her. A little piece each time.
It's been quite a career, and I'm still involved. I'm still involved with hauntings, in helping people get through. It's a very delicate thing with certain people because they're very terrified and very frightened.
Who wouldn't?
There's a lot of people that don't believe.
You have a lot of spirits in here, but there's one that I'm most worried about because it is so hateful.
Okay, so let's go and I'll show you the house. There's a lot of pictures of us in the house. Here's one picture of Ed and I.
You guys would say.
Oh yeah, we didn't do anything without one another. Probably one of the most haunted places in the world because of the things that are in here. Everything in here has been taken from some place where people are either killed or maimed, or so many ways.
In one room?
It's tragic for me, to even go in. People are very, very interested in the museum. And there's some people that are afraid to even go in. Right here is a conjuring mirror. Everything and anything in here we have investigated. Don't ever touch anything. And if you do, let me know. This is the worst thing in here. That doll. I'm not gonna stare at it though. So you can take the picture, but I'm not gonna stare at it because that
No direct eye contact.
badly bad harm on a lot of people. You have to conjure the spirits in order to get it. You're not going to get it by just walking around here.
And that's the one that's sort of depicted a little bit in this movie, correct?
Yes, it is. That's the Annabelle doll. Yes.
Who's that?
What has been done is the circular embolism, which is prayers, are set said all the time, you know, to pray. Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. Yes, oh my God, yes. I can't do that.
It's November 1st, 1971. I'm sitting here with Carolyn Perrin, who, with her family, has been experiencing supernatural occurrences.
The children were badly affected, really badly affected. That was a typical place. That was a very, very, very bad place.
Woo. Kids had to see that too?
It's not easy, you know. You know, you see things and experience things. It's more comfortable now. It's a lot more comfortable for me.
That was mind blowing. Hit the jets. That's a good prank.
The more fear you have, the better you taste it. There's a good reason why people close their curtains at night in the Appalachian Mountains. There are things in those woods that are terrifying. And one of those things happened to be the Appalachian Wendigo. Now, there was this man named Jim. Jim decided one day that he was going to sell everything he had and buy some acreage of land in the Appalachian Mountains and start this homestead. So Jim finds this good piece of land and he moves there, builds a cabin and several structures. And for a year, his life was amazing. He said one day though, he gets a knock on his cabin door. And he said he opens the door. On the other side of the door was this older gentleman. And he said the gentleman started speaking. He said, "Hey, my name is Fox. I live not too far from here, and I wanted to check on you because I know you're all alone out here, and things can happen to people who are alone in the woods."
Weird.
And Jim was kind of like, why is this guy saying all this and stuff? So he said the guy continued to talk to him, but all he could think about was the fact that this guy Fox looked exactly like his father who had passed away when he was a young boy. And he said it was just very, very eerie. It was like talking to his father. So he said finally the guy said, "You be safe out here. I'll see you later." And he said the way he said it was kind of creepy. So he said this guy, Fox, he just walked away and took off into the woods and he never seen him again. A couple of months after this, he said, one night he was asleep in his bedroom and he awakes to this sound of scratching. And he said the scratching sounds were coming from his window. And he said when he looked over in the direction towards his window, he sees the shadow appear. And it's almost in the shape of a person. And he said the shadow just moved across the wall all the way around him to the other side of his bed. And he said the next thing he knew was something was holding him down. He could not move and he was panicking and freaking out. And then he said all of a sudden it was gone. And he got up and he said, that must have just been a really crazy dream. So he said, this kept happening to him. He kept having this, what he thought at the time was a dream. Well, one day, he said he was out on his land setting up some traps. And he said he happened to notice in the snow there was all of this weird movement. He said, "What is that in the snow?" So he goes a little closer, he grabs a tree branch, and he moves the snow over. And he said out popped several rats. And he said that's when he realized these rats were eating a deer carcass.
Ooh.
And he said it was just so sickening that he had to start vomiting. And he said as he was bent over vomiting into the snow, he looks up, and there is the guy Fox. And he said the guy was just standing there, staring at him. And he's like, hey, what are you doing out here on my property? And he said Fox looked at him and said, you seen the deer? And he said, yeah. And he said, you see a lot of weird things happen in these woods. And then he said he turned and just walked away. So he said, that was like a really weird encounter. Like, did he have something to do with that deer or whatever? So he said, next couple of days he really kept having these nightmares where he'd see the shadowy thing in his room.
It's attacking him.
And then he said, this one particular night, he was sitting by the fireplace and he was just contemplating life. And he said, all of a sudden, the next thing he knows, he just stood up. He started walking towards the door. He opened the front door of the cabin and he starts walking out into the woods. And he said it was weird. It was like he knew what he was doing, but he couldn't control it. And something was just drawing him into the woods deeper and deeper. So he said finally he stops and he's just surrounded by trees. It's completely dark. And he said the next thing he knows, he hears his father's voice say, son, come here, it's your father.
Skinwalker.
And he said out of the shadows steps that guy, Fox again. And he said, it's me, I'm your father. Come here, come give your father a hug.
Mm-mm.
And Jim's just kind of like, well, no, you're not my father. My father's not here anymore. He's like, no, I am your father. Like, I've been here the whole time. Come give me a hug. And he said he just like didn't trust this guy. He thought he was crazy. And he said all of a sudden, this guy's skin began to peel off. And he said that's when he could see this wasn't his father. This wasn't a man. This was this pale, white, skinny creature with sharp teeth, sharp claws, and these bright yellow eyes. And he said, this thing said to him, I said, come here now. And the voice had changed. So he said, next thing he knows, like he was able to get awareness again. And like he was aware of the situation where he was at. He turns and he just takes off running. He gets back to his cabin, jumps in his truck, and he leaves his cabin and just abandons it. And he said after a couple weeks, he didn't know what to do. So he went to this Native American man in town that everyone said was a medicine man. And he told him like what had happened and stuff. And he said, this Native American man said to him, what you see was the Wendigo, what my people call the Wendigo. And he said, he has chosen you. And the reason he hasn't taken you yet is because he wants you to be as afraid as possible. Because to them, the more fear you have, the better you taste it. And he will continue to follow you and, harass you until he finally gets you afraid enough that he will take you. So Jim said he decided to sell the cabin and he never went back there again. And
Smart.
Still to this day, he can hear scratching sometimes at his window.
Window goes out though, man. How old is she? What's she doing? What the? Is that another arm helping her up? What the hell is that? What the hell was that, man? creepy.
There's brothers downstairs. Who you talking to? Who's Edward? No.
Oh, he left him. He said, not I.
Going to the bathroom, and there's Philip giving me side eye. What up, Philip? Just going to the bathroom, baby. Stop staring at me.
People be playing with those dolls, man. They're gonna find out one day. Is that an anaconda? What the hell is going on there?
Of this discovery. I need you to focus, though.
Another balloon possessed, man. And Elmo again. What causes a balloon to do that, bro? Pop it, bro. Only solution, man. Something there too. What the?
Did you see it? A strangely shaped forehead seems to be peeking around the top edge of the basement door. When slowed down, we can even see what looks like a bizarre set of dark eyes and the bridge of a nose.
That's a dog?
There's no way that this is a dog. I don't think you understand. There is zero way that she could unlock that, open it, shut it, and lock it. How are you?
It's another entrance way into the house.
September 20th.
See, I don't know how some of these people be doing it sometimes, man. They be getting these big houses, gigantic houses, and they be living in it by themselves, man. I would get too paranoid for that, bro. It's too much space, man. Anybody could try to come in, bro. I can't do that, man. There's a thing as such as too much, man. I don't know how that dog kept getting in and out. Maybe a doggy door or something. Best guess.
8th of 2020, a father decides to record his two sons during a playful activity. Both his kids are engaged in a playful wrestling match, with each one trying their best to beat the other. It's a tight match, as it looks like neither one can win the game. Well, that is, until one of them gets distracted. It's unclear as to what he's seeing, but his full attention is given. In fact, he's so distracted that his opponent takes this opportunity to beat him. Although capturing his loss on camera, something else was captured that neither of the kid's parents could explain. While looking at the video he took, the father sees this.
You don't see that? It moved.
As the father sees that his son is fixated on something, he points the camera to where he is looking, but he doesn't see what it is that's so captivating. Whether he missed it, or it simply was not visible, the camera had caught it.
This man turned his son into a doll. Here is the true story of Charlie McCarthy. McCarthy was a famous ventriloquist in the 1920s, known for his own show. But there was something strange about his dummies, especially one named Edgar. Edgar had a unique appearance that made it impossible to look away. He had very realistic hands, an extremely expressive mouth, creepy eyes, and he was also Charlie's largest dummy. What made this situation even stranger was that Charlie never let anyone get close to his dummy. He was the only one allowed to touch it and keep it locked in his chest. What comes next will terrify you, but don't forget that I can only protect my followers who have commented with their first name. One night, after a performance, Charlie McCarthy was found lifeless in his dressing room. Beside him lay his beloved dummy, wearing a faint smile. When the police examined Edgar, they made a horrifying discovery. Behind the mask was the lifeless body of a child, later identified as Charlie McCarthy's son. Share this video with everyone you want me to protect.
This last video comes from someone
Chilling.
who works the night shift at a department store inside a mall. For some reason, almost every night, strange noises are heard inside the store. Although the person who works there isn't sure what exactly is going on, a video of theirs has left viewers wondering if the store might be dealing with something paranormal. It's close to midnight, the employee is all alone, and the following is caught on camera. This is what was captured.
What's going on, guys? Making a video. It's been a couple days since I made the last one. I'm feeling good. That was... Yo! Hello?
He ain't by himself.
Behind me.
What the?
Out of nowhere,
Look like a
small
kid.
silhouette of what appears to be a child stands right behind the employee. Now, because the video ends abruptly, it's hard to be sure if what was caught is actual paranormal evidence. But whether paranormal or not, there's no doubting that the sudden appearance of the small figure is creepy alone. As always, what are your thoughts on this? Paranormal or not?
I'm gonna go with paranormal on that.
What are you scared of? The fish? Fish died. What? I'm just sleeping on it. It's raining, girls. Jesse, honey, are you almost done eating? Look at me.
Why are you laughing?
Look at me.
What they see?
What did they see?
The food you eat in America is so toxic it's actually illegal in other countries.
Tell me why my burrito is stamped with a use by date on it.
What?
It's still good.
Be wrong, but I was under the impression that ice cream would melt after sitting out all night. Now it looks like somebody shit in my sink.
What the fuck is this?
Mm.
Ain't never seen no yolk the same color.
Just kind of up to have lunch. I don't know what's going on, but since when is watermelon doing this?
It's fake.
Somebody look at this. What the fuck is chicken knees? Chickens ain't got knees. It's cartilage, ain't it? What the hell you doing?
Was moving like that. Do you see that? Tell me if I'm ridiculous. Does this or does this not look like styrofoam?
video, mask in hand, when he noticed something strange. As he smiled, the mask began to stretch into a wide, unsettling grin. It wasn't just the mask, it was alive. His heart raced in terror as he tossed it away. There was something watching him through every hole in the house. The boy's house was full of strange, small holes, and through each one, creepy eyes seemed to be watching him. As he moved from room to room, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were following him. Suddenly, one eye appeared focused and unsettling, its gaze locked on him. The eyes grew sharper and the air turned cold as he realized they weren't just watching.
And of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, by this sign of the Holy Cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with the Father and the Holy Spirit. You killed your mother! You killed your mother! You killed
Hit the jets.
What was meant to be a funny clip of his girlfriend's reaction turns into something they would see in their movie. Out of nowhere, the clown doll on the wall moves. Unaware of what just happened, she continues watching the film, while the boyfriend remains speechless, as it seems that the doll had come alive. While some think that the film had something to do with this, the couple believes that something else was responsible. As it turns out, they live across a cemetery that's quite literally down the street from them.
What locals did to this
Biting bad energy.
was pure evil. This was the real-life Pennywise. In 1954, Victor Lane was a kind clown performing at the Black Hollow Carnival. As a child, he lost his family in a mysterious fire. Locals called it an accident, but Victor overheard men laughing about how the freaks got what they deserved. Despite the pain, he became a clown to spread joy, but the town never accepted him. They mocked him as Creepy Smiley. One October night, a group of boys set his tent on fire during a show. His face was badly burned, and as he fled into the woods, the crowd laughed. Then, the town changed. Children vanished. Red balloons appeared at doorsteps. The mayor's son disappeared after a balloon was tied to his mailbox. What happens next will terrify you, but remember, I can only protect my followers who comment their names. A search party found an abandoned shack with carnival props, burned family photos, and a mirror etched with "Who's laughing now?" But Victor was gone. Now, every October, red balloons reappear. A warning, a reminder, and each year, someone vanishes.
Pennywise was based on a real story? I'm telling you, man, they put it all in the media, man. It's right in front of our eyes. Just gotta pay attention. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up on this video. Comment down below. Also, don't forget to hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.